Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Tuesday night Dynasty Heatseekers podcast. I am your host, Bryce Frazier, and I am joined by the always reliable Anthony Leone.
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for hosting today, and it's good to see you. Hope everything's well with you, and glad to get underway here.
Yeah, so it's been kind of boring so far. Post draft, there hasn't really been any big free agent signings yet. OBJ, Jarvis are kind of the top names right now. We're kind of waiting to see where they land. But like a lot of people, you might have some dynasty leagues that are, people have been itching to draft, and some startups. So as you can see on the screen already, we do have a startup snake draft that has been put in place, a Superflex 12-team tight end premium league. So we're going to go over that. We'll probably bounce around kind of all over the place on it because there's kind of a lot of things to point out on this. So we're going to dive deep into it. I will say that a lot of the people in this draft are new to Dynasty, Superflex, and tight end premium. Honestly, I am the commissioner of this league, and I'm pick 8. I'm the only one that has experience in this format. I always have friends and family that said they want to try it. So I did a cheaper, like $50 league. And Anthony and I are going to, we're just going to dive right into it. So let's do a first round kind of synopsis. It's kind of chalky. We discussed that earlier, kind of some things you'd really expect here. Maybe we'd switch up the order a little bit. So Leone, I'll ask you first. Does anything stand out to you in this first round? And if so, what is it and why?
Well, the main thing that stands out to me, you said this was a friends and family draft, right?
Correct, yeah.
I wasn't invited, so I guess I know where I stand in your friend circle.
That's fair. I'm starting another one. So you will be asked now.
And you said this was a $50 buy-in, right? So there is money on the line. So this isn't just a free league. This is, people are invested. That's good.
Absolutely.
Okay, so for Superflex, I think the quarterbacks to start the league, the draft, I think that's the right move. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily agree with the order that the first 4 were taken in, but I do believe they were the top 4. So I'm not going to get, too upset with who went with that, who went with who. I like at 5, after the elite quarterbacks were off the board, that they pivoted. They didn't just take the next best quarterback. They went and got, who they think would be the next best player. I would have went with Jonathan Taylor personally, but you can't really argue with Chase. I think that's a good pick too. So I'm not going to bash their head open. The 7th pick with Murray, I don't love that, but it's Superflex. You get a lot of rushing upside. Same with Lamar Jackson, Justin Jefferson there in between them. I think that's good too. No real complaints. Najee Harris there afterwards. I love that as well. Dak, I don't hate the pick, but probably not where I would have gone with it. And then I think Lamb rounds out the first round. So overall, I think it's a very good start to the draft. If you would have said to me that these are professional players who play in a lot of leagues, Superflex leagues, I would believe you. It looks very chalky. It looks really strong overall. So while I may want to move a couple guys here and there, I can't make any real big complaints out of anyone taken in the first round. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with the first 4, but I kind of clump in a 5th quarterback in the elite, and I think it just gets overlooked because of last year. It's Desean Watson for me. I think I would have taken him 5th overall, honestly. I think it's an absolute steal at the 201 in a Superflex league. This guy was leading the league in passing yards literally the year before last with a horrible Texans team. I expect him to be right back to where he kind of was. I know the Browns do kind of establish the run game, but I think that's just going to open up the door for more. He obviously comes into a way higher touchdown upside possibility with that. But outside of that, yeah, I agree. Kyler Murray, it was a toss-up for me because his production is significantly lower when DeAndre Hopkins is off the field. They did get Marquise Brown So maybe that kind of cancels out a little bit, but he's not DeAndre Hopkins. So I don't expect him to be quite as good. I worry about him staying healthy because he gets a lot of his production on the ground, but he's pretty small. And when he runs a lot, I think this is 2 years in a row now that he's gotten kind of beat up. And when Cliff Kingsbury sees him beat up, he keeps him in the pocket, and his production fantasy wise goes way down.
Well, I have to ask real quick. You said Desean Watson would be in your top 5 quarterbacks. Why did you not take a quarterback in the first round? You know what I mean? Like, is there too much risk? Is that the deal? Like, if you knew for sure he would play, is that just kind of what happened there? I'm guessing.
I actually so I took Jefferson, right? I regretted it. I actually did.
Oh, okay.
I think that I kind of let all that offseason stuff get to me a little bit, because I think I would have rather had Desean Watson there. And yeah, there's just, and that happens, right? We pick players maybe too quick. There wasn't a timer. And I was just, everyone gets excited when it's the first few rounds of a draft. And I took Justin Jefferson, which it's not like I regret it huge, because Justin Jefferson, I have like 3 outside of the 5 quarterbacks that I like. I have 3 skill position players that aren't quarterback that I consider like top tier, which is Chase, JT, and Jefferson, right? So outside of those 3 and those 5 quarterbacks, like if I had picked 9 and all 8 of those players got taken, I would be really bummed. And wouldn't know what I would do in that situation. So yeah,
and maybe you thought Watson could fall to you in the second round too.
I really did. I thought that was a possibility, but then when I saw Lamar get picked and then Dak get picked, I thought it's not going to happen. And I should have known, because this guy at pick 110 as a Browns fan, I guarantee if Desean Watson would have fell to 2-3 there to him, he would have been grabbed up there anyway. And again, that's just me maybe jumping the gun a little bit.
Yeah.
And if he does get suspended, it looks great. If not, and he is the Desean Watson he was before, yeah, I'll probably regret it. But
you still have Justin Jefferson, so it's okay.
Yeah, I have the top, arguably the top dynasty wide receiver in place of that, with a decent quarterback that I got in the 4th.
Right.
So I was going to ask you. So I just said there's 3 skill position players that I kind of put right there in Superflex that I consider like the top tier. And then after that, there's kind of a gap for me. Not a big gap, but a little gap. Do you have like a certain set amount of players, like at the wide receiver, running back, maybe tight end position, that you have as like that, the guys that you take? Like, is there where's your drop off is, I guess, where I'm asking.
Yeah, I really like Christian McCaffrey, and even though he's a little bit older now, I think I'd put him up there with Swift, Javonte Williams, Najee Harris. They're all kind of in that elite running back tier. When I want to put together a draft, I think wide receiver is deep enough where I feel more comfortable I want to get 2 elite running backs, because I feel like there's enough wide receiver depth to make up for what you miss out on in those first 2 rounds. And especially in a super flex, super flex are going to push a lot of these guys down the board too. So I like more of that Kirk Cousins, Tannehill, kind of Matt Ryan, those type of quarterbacks, Derek Carr. That's when I want to attack quarterback in the Superflex league. So I want to get 2 elite running backs, 2 elite wide receivers, and then I want to get 2 starting quarterbacks, maybe a third like you did in Daniel Jones. Mm-hmm. That's how I do my Superflex drafts in that kind of format. Now, obviously, sometimes things change, and if I'm drafting in the front, and a lot of elite running backs are gone by the time my second pick is back around, and value like Cup or Debo or CeeDee Lamb, if they slide to me, then yeah, I'll change it up a little bit. But really, in the first 4 rounds, my goal is to get 2 elite running backs and then 2 elite wide receivers. That would be my goal. And looking at this draft, no one did that, so I can't show an example in this draft. But that is what I try to do in my first 4 rounds.
You didn't think Skinner did here with JT and Eckler?
Which pick?
6. He kind of did that a little bit.
Yeah, but then he took Russell Wilson. I wouldn't have taken Russell Wilson there. But yeah, Yeah.
And
Also, I wouldn't have taken Drake London. So basically, instead of Russell Wilson, I would have taken Tyreek Hill. Or no, he was taken right before.
Yeah. So the people after,
I would have taken Devontae Adams. So I would have had, assuming it fell the same way, I would have had Taylor, Eckler, Adams, Diggs, and then Carr, and then I would have then gone for best available tight end or running back. Really, once you get a couple running backs, a couple wide receivers, and your quarterback, then you really can let the draft fall to you. Then you don't ever have to feel like you're going to reach for something. You just kind of go for best player available.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I like to do it, because I feel confident with the Kirk Cousins, with the Ryan Tannehills, with the Carson Wentz, with the Matt Ryans. I think they're going to be good enough, Derek Carr. They're going to be good enough to get you those points. And it's not going to be that far off of a Trevor Lawrence or Matthew Stafford. There's a slight drop off, but when you have those running backs and then wide receivers locked up, I think it provides a lot more flexibility when you're going into the draft, knowing that, hey, I don't need anything. I can just get who I think is the best person available.
Yeah. I typically do what you just said. Like, I usually target running back heavy, but I wanted to try something a little different. Obviously, round one, I took who I thought best available was at the time. Round two, I do suffer in several of my dynasty leagues where I have horrible tight end play, and I'm just tired of it. So it's like I see Kyle Pitts as a tier of his own, which is why I kind of grabbed him there at the 2-5. I struggled with taking him over Swift. I was literally razor thin on both of those guys. And then I kind of went running back. So I kind of filled one of each position with a top tier player. And then I just kind of I attacked wide receiver at that point because I am comfortable with the James Connors. I was hoping that Leonard Fournette would fall, maybe even a Damian Harris, later, in the 10th, but he kind of went early for me. Yeah. I wanted guys I thought could maybe, they might not have a ton of PPR value, which is why they didn't go real high up, but their touchdown upside's high. I feel comfortable that they can get me at least 10 points, and I wanted to attack wide receiver this time, which is why I kind of went Godwin, Judy back to back after I filled one of each spots. I mean, there's no right or wrong way of doing it. It's just preference at that point.
Of course.
So the way I look at it is wide receivers there are more of them. But it seems like the way the NFL is played nowadays, wide receivers might be becoming just as consistent as running backs in a lot of these cases. Teams are starting to do more running back by committees and things like that, unless you have the anomalies like Jonathan Taylor and Najee Harris, Joe Mixon, who are getting 90% of their team's touches in the backfield. So that's kind of what I did was I sprinkled a little bit of everything and then just filled in the gaps from there, from rounds pretty much 5 and on. So
yeah, I guess we can focus on your team right now. I mean, I do like how you built your team so far. I do think Pitts was the one thing that I think is too early. I know it's a tight end premium league, but even still, I wouldn't have taken a tight end in the first 4 or 5 rounds. I don't think, especially considering Waller would have been the last guy I would have considered in the 5th round. I think that was a good value by that team who got Waller in the 5th round. After that, I would fade tight end. I'd rather go for a Gesicki, Logan Thomas. I know Logan Thomas fell real far in this draft.
Yeah, he just got drafted in round 20. So
yeah. So I would have faded tight end myself because obviously Pitts is a lot better than Logan Thomas, but for the next couple of seasons, probably won't be that much of a difference. And so I just think that Pitt, even though it's a tight end premium league, it's half a point more per catch, but all the tight ends get half a point more per catch. So it's all kind of relative anyway. So I don't really raise up tight ends in tight end premium leagues for that reason, because it's all relative anyway. So I would look for tight end value. I like Knox where he went. I think that was fair. Fant
I like
as
Hunter
well.
Henry. I like where Hunter Henry went in the 10th.
And Gesicki as well. So,
And
yeah.
I'll say I usually do that. But I look at Kyle Pitts and I look at a guy that's built like a wide receiver that plays tight end. He did. I will say he disappointed, but that's because people had unrealistic expectations for a rookie tight end in a horrible position in the sense of like when he was drafted, it wasn't a horrible position, but with Calvin Ridley getting hurt and that offensive line being god awful, he literally was the only receiver on that team.
Yeah.
And now with Drake London there, he's, it might help him a little bit. We'll see. But I looked at it like out of these players left, who can I count? I think that gives me high level production for the next 5 to 10 years. And I feel like he is probably one of them. I liked Jalen Waddle at the 3-1. I thought maybe he'd fall. It's like I'm predicting too. Like I see Jalen Waddle, I'm like, okay, people are going to be low on him because now Tyreek Hill is there. Well, he gets drafted before Tyreek Hill. So it's like, okay, well, I wasn't expecting that. So it's like I was trying to maybe, and I thought with this tight end premium that people would grab. I knew Pitts wouldn't make it back to me. I just knew that wasn't going to happen.
Sure.
So, yeah, it's my own pick that I don't really like, and then pick round 15 at the very bottom of the screen. I'm a Patriots fan, so at that point I took Tyquan Thornton. Well, look at the pick right before and then the one before. I had Jacoby Meyer queued, and then Devontae Parker queued, and then Tyquan Thornton queued, and it literally went Jacoby and Devontae right before.
Yeah.
So I just wanted a Patriot receiver at that point. That's probably my least favorite pick, but it's round 15 at that point. It could pan out to be pretty good. But the Kyle Pitts pick, I didn't feel great about it because Swift went after him. Joe Mixon went after him. Jalen Waddle. And luckily, Javonte Williams fell all the way to me. I was going to be upset if at least one of those guys didn't come back my way.
Yeah, so, Javonte Williams is the slam dunk pick. I mean, I like Jefferson, obviously, and Pitts is obviously good, even though maybe it was a little bit early to take him. Mm-hmm. Of course, if you would have taken Javonte Williams in the second round, Pitts wouldn't have come back to the third round.
Right.
So it kind of worked out. I mean, you got Pitts. You got Javonte Williams anyway. That's probably someone I would have considered in the second round anyway. Yeah. I mean, it really did work out. I probably would have waited for a quarterback not taking Stafford, but it worked out. It worked out. I mean, so it's really not. It's easy to say, oh yeah, you should have done that. You should have done that. I mean, I would have taken Akers or Chubb or Barkley over Stafford myself.
That's fair. And I debated that. I did debate that.
But it ultimately worked out. You got James Conner at a good value. I'm kind of worried about your running back depth, though. Penny and Samir White. That's the thing. Yeah. That's why I like getting that solidified, and then you can kind of attack other positions. Like, for example, instead of taking Daniel Jones, maybe you could have gotten another running back there. I know it's hard to, it's easy to look back and see what you could have done differently after the fact. But overall, I do like your team.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, I'm hoping either Penny, Zamir, Khalil Herbert, or James White gets a shot to give me some depth because, I'm hurting for a running back 3 when bye weeks inevitably come. My wide receiver depth, I'm not worried about at all. I thought another huge steal for me was Hopkins at the 10 spot.
Definitely,
I know he's 29, but Hopkins is like one of those guys that could be relevant on your fantasy team. He might not be a wide receiver 1 for many more years, but he could be a solid wide receiver 2, a really high-end flex play, I still think, for the next 3 or 4 years.
He's the perfect guy to target because, you're talking about bye weeks.
Right.
He'll be back when most of your players are on bye. I mean, when Jefferson's, he may be on bye week 10. I don't think the schedule's released yet. I think it comes out in a few days.
They got some games out, but not all of them.
Yeah. So once we know the bye weeks, I mean, shoot, you could get really lucky. You could have some late buys, and then you could just be plugging in a fresh, healthy DeAndre Hopkins in all your lineups.
Yeah.
Over all your guys.
Yeah. It's not a guy you have to worry about, because he's not coming off an injury. So you don't have to worry about him coming in warming back up. He's probably going to come in hot and heavy, going to get targeted probably around 10 times his first game back, more than likely. So, so let's move on to another team. Let me ask you, what other team here do you like significantly?
We can just start with the first team because I
Okay.
really did like how the first team started the draft. I like Josh Allen. Mixon was a good pick following up that. Waddle, I would have rather had Tyreek Hill, but I understand the youth aspect. I would have probably taken A.J. Brown over Waddle. That's pretty close. I would have taken Devontae Adams. But, I get it. Youth pick, Dynasty League, I can see the appeal there. So I'm okay with that. I'll give that a pass. I love the Dobbins pick as well. Treylon Burks, pretty risky, but, it's okay. It's better than the Waddle pick, I'd say. So that's fine. I like the Keenan Allen pick. I love the Mike Evans pick. I don't like the Hunter Renfrow pick, and I know that's a guy that we disagree on. So I guess we can highlight Hunter Renfrow specifically.
Yeah, sure.
I think Hunter Renfrow is incredibly overvalued right now, with Devontae Adams coming in, Waller, Jacobs. I just don't see Hunter Renfrow getting enough volume to be a huge factor. I think back to Bryan Edwards last season. Now Bryan Edwards is off. I mean, he's off everyone's radar. But he was really, really inconsistent last year, and that's because there just wasn't enough targets to go around. And I think the same thing is going to happen with Hunter Renfrow. There's just not going to be enough targets to go around. Yeah, he'll get some targets, and yeah, he'll get some catches, and yeah, he'll get some touchdowns. But is it really going to be enough to justify getting taken among the likes of Mooney or Mike Williams, Michael Thomas, Brandon Cooks, Allen Robinson? I just don't personally see it. He's the third option on that team at best, and I just don't think there's going to be enough volume to go around for Hunter Renfrow. I think if he still has this value, he's an easy sell for me, and he is not someone that I'm targeting to acquire on my teams. Bryce.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with the people that you mentioned. I probably am still taking Mooney, Thomas, Cooks, Robinson over him. Outside of that, I don't know. Hopkins, I've probably taken over him, but I don't hate it. I do worry about volume because Hunter Renfrow's not a guy that's like real big threat in the red zone, but he could. It's hard. It's all we're just predicting this stuff, right? Like the Raiders are set to be a team that can score a lot of points. Like it'd be a team that scores 30 points plus a week, and it wouldn't really surprise us. It's just like that is a lot of mouths to feed. I'm not worried about Josh Jacobs taking any targets from him, obviously. Waller and Adams, right? They're the top two. Now, the devil's advocate would obviously say, well, now Hunter Renfrow sees the weakest coverage on the team. He's going to be open all the time. He's already got this rapport with Carr, but so do these other guys, right? I mean, Waller's been there now several years, and Devontae Adams had college with him. Can they re-spark the connection they had at college? Obviously, they
Fresno State.
Yeah, they did play at Fresno State. That's correct.
One.
Can they spark up that same connection? They weren't playing NFL caliber people back then. Then that was what 10 years ago, 8 years ago, 9 years ago. So it is an iffy pick. I don't hate it, right? I mean, it's a good. I think it's decent value, but there are guys after him that I will agree with that I would have had more. You kind of sold me a little bit once I really started thinking of it because he's a volume player, right? He's like Julian Edelman, and if you put like Devontae Adams and Darren Waller and Rob Gronkowski on the Patriots, and then Julian Edelman goes on there, I would expect to see a decrease in his production as well. So I can see that same thing kind of happening to Hunter Renfrow. So I don't hate the pick as much as you, but yeah. I still don't like it compared to a lot of other people.
After that, I can't read his name. Big Davidson, is that what it says?
It's Big Al Wilson.
Big Al. Yeah. Okay, so Big Al, he's kind of saved face here. I like the Knox, and I love the Tannehill pick. I think the Tannehill pick is incredible value. Given, I mean, he's like a top 12 quarterback for the past 3 years. So he got him an incredible value after Tagovailoa, after Cousins, after Justin Fields. I would have rather had Tannehill over Fields personally.
Really?
Yeah, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Fields has rushing upside. Tannehill doesn't.
That's true.
And I think maybe he wanted Tannehill. Excuse me. I think maybe he wanted Tannehill to have that Burks connection.
Yeah.
So that's cool. I like the Wentz pick as a third quarterback. Odell still isn't with the team, but I think he'll sign somewhere. Yeah. I think Tanyan's a good pick too. Great value. I would have preferred Irv Smith went before, so that's good. So yeah, Tanyan's good. And then Landry, I think that's a good pick too. I mean, I really do like his team. There's a couple of points I don't agree with, like Renfro and maybe Waddle was too early, but generally, I really do like Big Al's team. Do you have any other thoughts on Big Al and what he did there?
Yeah, I think his best pick, in my opinion, was Dobbins at 4. I don't like any of the running backs that got drafted after him more. I kind of put Dobbins, Barkley, and Akers in like a little tier of their own. I guess Nick Chubb in there too, but I like those 3 a little bit more because Nick Chubb's got the best backup running back in the NFL on his team too. And then the Odell Beckham Jr. pick I like a lot because I really think it's possible that he ends up with the Packers. I think that's very likely at this point. I mean, I'm just guessing at this, but if he goes there, like his value immediately skyrockets, because it's another guy that you can sit on your bench. He's not going to come back till November. And once he does, he's going to be fresh. Everyone else is going to be a little bit tired. And he's the kind of guy that can go on any team and he's a playmaker, right? You don't have to build chemistry. Odell doesn't have to do that. He went on the Rams and immediately had a huge impact. So he'll do the same thing. I would prefer to see him go to a team where he isn't the team's number one receiver, unless the quarterback's Aaron Rodgers. So yeah, that's the only thing. And Landry, another guy that could end up on a team with a really good quarterback. So I think those are guys that have a lot of value. He could easily plug them into their starting lineup when they're inevitably on the field. So yeah.
Yeah, the running back depth for his team is the only thing that kind of gives me pause. Right. After Mixon and Dobbins, it's pretty much
Rashaad
nothing.
White, yeah.
Yeah.
I got a backup player. If third stringer right now, maybe
at best.
Yeah. So
that's a little concerning.
Yeah, let me check real quick, make sure he didn't I don't think he got any like sneaky value later at running back, if I remember correctly. Yeah. No, he's definitely doomed there if he doesn't have some. But he's got the wide receiver depth to potentially trade for some. So
yeah,
that's something that can always be addressed once the season starts or whatever. So let's just jump into the second team here. Sure. I'll go ahead and go first. The 2 picks I don't like are his 3rd and 4th round. I really don't like those picks. I am not a big Antonio Gibson guy. I'm hearing, it's just words, but I'm hearing that Ron Rivera wants to do more of a running back by committee back there. And Jalen Hurts, I just worry about job security. There's a lot of other quarterbacks I would have had after him. And then there's definitely a lot of running backs and wide receivers I would have took over him. The pick I like the most is there's really 2 of them, and it's Mooney and Thomas. These are Mooney. Darnell Mooney is don't get it twisted. He is really good. Like, he's open a lot. And I think if he and Fields can build a connection and that offensive line holds up, that they could be kind of scary. And Michael Thomas is Michael Thomas. Like it's kind of like the Christian McCaffrey / Desean Watson thing, where it's like he hasn't been on the field. What have you done recently? Which is not anything. So people are kind of scared of him, and he's fallen down here. He is 29, but heck, he's got no tread on the last 2 years. His career should theoretically go another year or a year and a half longer than it should have. So those are kind of the thoughts I had there. I thought he got good value later with Jameis Winston as a third guy. I like Robert Woods and Michael Gallup as well as teams respected number 2 wide receivers. What are your thoughts on Emery's team there?
Yeah, I mean, I really do like his team overall. I agree Gibson was too early. I would have rather had anyone, the 4 that went after him, I would have rather had for sure. So
you'd had Zeke over him?
No.
Oh no, Zeke went after Zeke. I'm sorry, Zeke.
I
Went
would have
before.
rather had Dobbins,
Yeah.
Barkley, Chubb, or Akers.
What about Elijah Mitchell?
No.
Okay.
Mitchell be waived for. I don't have any faith that Mitchell will be the starting running back for
Really?
a long time in San
Who
Francisco.
who is it then?
He may not even be on the team right now. I don't view Mitchell as a long-term starting running back caliber type player.
Okay. Sure.
We've seen San Francisco rotate through running backs like they look like the next best thing, and then all of a sudden they're off the page. I mean, Mostert. What happened to Mostert? What happened to Breida? What happened?
Yeah.
Jeff Wilson looked really good too for a while, and no one even thinks about him anymore. I wouldn't be shocked if Trey Sermon ended up starting at the end of the season this year. It wouldn't surprise me.
I got a decent amount of shares of him, so that'd be nice.
Yeah. So I just don't buy into the Elijah Mitchell hype train. I'm not buying that. I think Elijah Mitchell is a good sell right now. But back to what's his name?
Emery.
Emery. All right, Emery. Really like the wide receivers he selected. I don't love the Gibson pick, but it's okay. He has running backs. He has tight ends. He has 3 startable quarterbacks, which is really good. His running back depth is again the concern. I know that's going to be a trend with most of the teams, just because running back depth is so hard to get, especially in a Superflex tight end premium league. Just because there's so many other positions you have to focus on, and sometimes bench players just don't get prioritized as much as other starting spots do. So that's understandable, but he doesn't really have any backup help at running back. Ronald Jones is his next best running back.
You got Marlon Mack. I thought that was good value late there.
That's okay.
Yeah,
that's not terrible. But I mean, overall, I think it's a good team. I think Andrews might have been too early some of the players still on the board when Andrews went off is just, you can't pass up on Mixon and Barkley and Chubb and Akers and all these guys and they got incredible value in this draft.
He didn't pass up on Barkley. Luckily, he came back around and got him.
Yeah, but I just think it's too early to take a tight end, in my opinion. Even in a tight end premium league, again, we've already gone over that. It's just, for me, it's too early. I think Hurts is really risky too. I mean, you're investing a top 3 pick in a quarterback who may not even be the starter by the end of the season, or especially by next year. I mean, he's a good fantasy quarterback.
Yeah.
But is he really going to take the Eagles to the playoffs? If he doesn't, is he going to be the starter next year? I mean, it's a weak division, right?
This is a prove it year for him, I think, at this point, because now they have the wide receiver talent. Like, there's no excuse, right? I mean, last year they had a rookie, Devontae, and that was it, kind of. Like, everyone else has been kind of a bust for them. Arcega-Whiteside, Rieger.
And I don't like taking prove it players that early in a draft.
That's fair. Yeah, absolutely.
Like,
I agree. But I'm just saying, like, at this point, like, I think he's safe for this year, but I do worry about, in the future. I think he could become a journeyman.
Yeah, I think that would be a much better like redraft selection.
Yeah, I agree.
Not dynasty.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. Well, go ahead and jump into the third team there with
Kyle Gibson.
Yep.
Is that right? Kyle.
Yep.
All right. Well, I would have taken Mahomes, but that's okay. Burrow's a good pick. Breece Hall is too early. Again, this is what we just kind of talked about. These players, I don't have any. They have never shown it. I mean, he could be as good as Christian McCaffrey. He could be as bad as Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and you're taking him in the second round. It's just too early for me to invest a pick in a player like that early.
Yeah, it's gambling for sure.
AJ Brown, I don't love the situation he's in right now. We just talked about that with Hurts.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's too early for AJ Brown when you have Devontae Adams, for example, still on the board. So I don't love that pick as well. Zack Wilson, I think the worst pick so far of the draft that we've highlighted.
You think the Zack Wilson pick is worse than Mac in the third?
Oh, well, we haven't got to that pick yet.
Okay. Sorry.
No, I think it's better than that pick, but of the ones we've kind of highlighted,
he is, like I said, these people are all new to this format, and he is a Jets fan. He is a Jets fan. So I don't hate the Zack Wilson pick, honestly. I think I would have rather had Stafford, T-Law after him, but I really don't value him significantly less than some of these other guys. I mean, yeah, I think Derek Carr at this pick is more valuable.
Yeah.
At the sixth round, in the sixth round than Zack Wilson is in the fourth. But overall, as a player in a dynasty league, I have faith. I personally have faith in Zack Wilson. I think he has the arm talent to be very good in the NFL. I just hope that he is able to put all of that talent together is my issue. But I think he has some of the best arm talent, top level arm talent in the league. It's decision making that I'm worried about for him.
And fortunately for Kyle here, he was still able to get Chubb in the fifth round.
Yeah.
So in that sense, it worked out. So that's good. I can't read the next. Is that Jameson Williams?
Yeah.
Okay, so Jameson Williams.
Did you full screen? You have this full screened?
I have it. Well, I know because I want to see the
chat.
Here.
Okay,
yeah.
That's fair. Yeah, I always go in and out.
Oh.
Just so I could read
a little personal information there, but okay.
Okay, all right.
All right, so Jameson Williams.
Jameson Williams in the sixth.
Yeah, that that's okay. I'm not gonna. That's all right. I'm not gonna. Yeah. It's a rookie wide receiver. Who knows what can happen? I'm not gonna. I'd rather probably have Amari Cooper, who went later, but that's okay. That's fine. Freiermuth seems early.
I agree.
Before Goddard, Fant, Gesicki, that seems a little early, but the next pick, I don't get it all. Michael Carter.
He's got a starting.
He already has Breece Hall, so he knows that he's not the starter anymore. And I guess handcuffing. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of handcuffing, especially when you got to invest such a high draft capital.
Yeah.
So I don't like that pick at all, Kyle.
If you do look after, there's not many starting running backs that are selected after.
No, but like Damian, I would have much rather had Damian Harris, AJ Dillon, Miles Sanders, Kareem Hunt. I mean, most of these names, I'd rather have Isaiah Spiller.
Oh.
I mean, so that's Chase fair. Edmonds probably. I mean, Michael Carter just does nothing, especially because he already has Breece Hall. He already has the starting running back. So I understand the logic to handcuff him, but then you're just wasting a top 7, 8th round pick that you can't even use. Like, you're already handicapping your starting roster by rostering someone you can't roster on a weekly basis.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of wide receivers. I think there's the wide receivers available after that were huge.
And to top it off, he's really going all in on the Jets here. I mean, he has Zack Wilson, Breece Hall. I mean, yeah, if they're really good, you'll be happy. And I think everyone agrees the Jets are going to take a step forward. But is that going to be enough steps forward where you're going to be competitive on a weekly basis with these guys? Probably not. You're probably going to have some good Zack Wilson weeks. And then you're probably going to have some good Breece Hall weeks. I doubt you're going to have a lot of weeks where they both go off. And if you're starting both on a weekly basis, that is not something I want to invest in personally. Of all the teams we've evaluated so far, Kyle, unfortunately, yours is my least favorite. But I do appreciate that you're willing to take a risk and you're going for some upside, you're swinging for the fences. That I do appreciate, but it's just a little bit too much risk for my liking myself.
Yeah, I agree. I probably like this team the least, but I mean, it's not like it wouldn't surprise me if this team is really good next year. Like AJ Brown, I would think his value decreased. Breece Hall is a reach for me, but he's the number one running back taken in Superflex leagues. He's the one right now, even in Superflex rookie drafts. So he could, if he pans out, Chubb's good. Zack Wilson has a good ceiling. Jameson Williams has a sky high ceiling. He's got a lot of ceiling, I would say, and his floor is also low. So, I would agree the Michael Carter pick to me is probably my least favorite.
Yeah.
And Zack Wilson, there's probably like 3 or 4 quarterbacks, in this round I would have took. Oh, I guess they
went
Stafford
after.
and Lawrence after.
Yeah.
So I probably would have just passed and took Carr later if I could have, like maybe the next round, because obviously when it got back to you. But I don't hate his team, but it is my least favorite. I really don't think anyone here just did awful. So, and we'll just move on to Jared's team. So Mahomes at 4, I think is probably the most value out of the first round.
Good value.
Yeah, Metcalf in the second round, I think is absolutely fine.
Agree.
Johnson in the 4th is great. Akers in the 5th is fantastic. Olave is a swing. I don't like the Clyde Edwards-Helaire pick that much. I would have probably, he still got him, but I would have had Leonard Fournette above him. I would have had James Conner above him. The pick I just disliked the most, even as a Patriot fan, is the Mac Jones pick.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's the one big glaring issue on this team.
Yeah, I think it's the biggest. I think it's probably the biggest reach in the entire draft, in my opinion. There's so many guys I would have rather had after him that got drafted after him, and he just he's a good floor play, and I could see him being, he can be a quarterback 2 on your team potentially for the next decade. I can see that. He's just a franchise quarterback, but he's not flashy. He doesn't have hardly any rushing upside. There's not much wide receiver talent there. That's a run first offense. They'll get it inside the 20 and they'll try and run it from there all the way into the end zone. So outside of that pick, this is probably one of the top 3 teams I like in this draft. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I just the Mac Jones pick is just the only thing that I don't like, really. I also, I don't know who else was available instead of Malik Willis. Carson Wentz, right?
Wentz was available.
Yeah. I would have.
That's probably it, I think. Yeah, Wentz.
Yeah.
Mills.
I would have much rather had Malik Willis.
You mean Carson Wentz?
Excuse me, Carson Wentz. Yeah, or even Davis Mills.
Yeah.
He's starting. Jameis Winston. Why take a backup rookie quarterback that got taken in the 3rd round when you could just take someone who is actually starting? So that pick and the Mac Jones pick are the ones that kind of do me in. Otherwise, I think it's a good team and will be competitive.
Yeah. All right. Go ahead and move on to the next one. So this is Chase. We talked about it. I like it. That's fine. I'm not a big fan of the Dalvin Cook pick. There's several guys I would have rather had after that. The Tyreek Hill pick is fine. I don't really like the Rodgers pick either, but if you want to compete right away, I guess I can see the logic behind it. You want to win this year.
Yeah, I'm okay.
Rodgers makes fine sense. Waller, you talked about it earlier, was a good pick in the 5th.
I like that. I do like that.
Honestly, there's no pick I hate. I don't hate any of them. There's some I can argue I would have took a couple players above them. James Cook, I guess, in the 6th or the 8th. There's that probably is my least favorite pick. So looking at guys that got taken after him, Mooney, Thomas, Robinson, I probably would have went in that area. I feel like James Cook is definitely a risk. Oh, I'm sorry, Leonard Fournette right after him. I would have taken that at that point. So I guess that's my least favorite pick, and even then, it's not that bad. Anything stand out to you?
No, I think he kind of went off of what I was saying earlier, which was, hey, you got to get some running backs because there's enough wide receiver depth to make up your team later. And I think that's kind of his philosophy here. He got Rondale Moore and DJ Chark, and those are guys that, you could plug in and be a little optimistic about. I like I like his 2 starting quarterbacks. I don't like the Matt Corral pick. That seems like a wasted pick to me. Otherwise, I think it's a well balanced team. He has enough depth in running back or wide receiver to make a trade if he needed to. So I think it's a really good team. It's a good starting point, and nothing I really don't hate. So I think he did a good job overall.
Yeah. All right. Go ahead and go over the next team then.
All right. What's the name of the team here?
It's Seth Skinner.
Seth. All right, Seth. I love the JT pick. I like the Eckler pick. I don't love it. I like it. It's a good pick. This is PPR, correct?
Correct.
All right. So I like the pick. Russell Wilson, a little early, but it's decent value based on who else was taken there. So that's fine. I really like the Diggs pick in the 4th round. That's good value as well. Drake London and Devonta Smith, it could be better. It passed up on some guys like Allen Robinson and guys that, are more surefire guys. Mm-hmm. But I don't dislike going for the upside, taking the youth, thinking that, hey, you know what? These guys may not be great this year, but they'll probably be good for a long time. So in that sense, I like the pick too. The pick that stands out more than anyone, I've already kind of gone up and down his team here, but the Kenny Pickett in the 7th round. Seth, what are you doing, brother? What are you doing here? I hate that pick. I love Seth. I hate that pick.
You don't even know Seth, but you love him.
I love Seth. I love you, man. I don't agree with this Pickett selection, especially when you have guys like Kirk Cousins, Ryan Tannehill. I mean, guys that are starters, arguably will be top 15 plays. I mean, Pickett, in all likelihood, is going to be top 25, top 20 at best. And that's even if he pans out and does pretty well. He may not even be the starter to start the year with Trubisky there, and Trubisky may run away with the job altogether. So I don't like the pick at all, and I think that's the one selection that kind of is like just a sore thumb here. So otherwise, I like the Lockett pick, and I like the Isaiah Spiller pick, and Damian Harris. All that's good. But yeah, that Pickett, I don't know what he's thinking with Pickett. What do you think about that, Bryce? Pickett?
I know he's thinking he's a Steelers fan. That's what
he has to be, right?
Yeah, he is.
I mean, he is, right? Yes. I mean, he has to be. Okay.
Yep. All right. But I mean, yeah, it just doesn't. I mean, I'm a Patriots fan, but I'm not reaching for Mac Jones. I really didn't even want him at all. And I like him as a real life quarterback, but fantasy, he's not fun to watch. Yeah, I mean, he's got no quarterback depth, right? I mean, I'm looking at the rest of his team here, and he literally does not have another quarterback. Like, those are the only 2 on his roster, and there's none left that are.
Well, starters. He can draft Trubisky. I mean, he needs to draft Trubisky.
Trubisky's gone.
Okay, all right. I don't know what to tell you, Seth. I
might have to make a trade, right? I mean,
now he did it.
If Kenny Pickett takes the job, it looks, it looks okay, right? But just because it looks okay later doesn't make it right now, right?
But so it's weird he reached for Pickett. I mean, he could have had Justin Fields, but it's weird he reached for Pickett, but didn't reach for Najee Harris in the 1st round. I mean, that's just inconsistent.
Well, yeah.
But if he knows,
there's logic there in the.
But that's my point. Like, if he knows not to reach for Najee Harris in the 1st, why is he reaching for Pickett in the 7th? Right. That's what I don't get the logic there. So. Seth, my advice to you is to find Trubisky, find who drafted him, and try to trade for him. If you're listening to this, that is because you can get him for probably a 3rd round rookie pick next year. And I mean, that would really make me feel a heck of a lot better about your team.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my suggestion at this point.
Yeah, I agree. I like the rest of this. I mean, I probably would have taken some other guys other than Austin Eckler personally. But other than that, like, there's no pick I hate other than the Kenny Pickett selection. And that's just like, that's you're rolling the dice like big time right there. Cause that's your quarterback too. Like, if you already had another quarterback and you reach for Pickett, I would hate it less. right? Like for some reason, if you grabbed another quarterback in like the 5th round, and then you took Pickett
like
in
Carr.
the 7th,
Yeah,
right?
like if you had Carr instead
Yeah.
of Devonta Smith, for example. Like
Right.
if you switch those, for example.
Then I'm not as I don't
Yeah.
hate it as much. But I still it's a reach, and I'm sure he understands that. But sometimes people just don't care. They want their favorite new player on their favorite team, and it does make it more fun to watch when you have your favorite team and fantasy players on it. I'm not gonna lie, but it doesn't sometimes when money's involved, you got to throw all that out the window. It's all logic at that point. So we'll move on to the 7th pick, which is Trevor. Again, this isn't a team I dislike. There's a couple of players I would have been like, George Pickens in the 7th for me is probably
a little early.
Yeah, a little early.
A little early.
I would have probably passed on Dalton Schultz in the 8th as well, with guys like Henry and Gesicki fall into the 10th.
Ertz was too early too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. He wants to he definitely wants to compete now with what you're seeing with like the first 4 picks. And then it's like, okay, let me get some youth at that point. Right. He's got a lot of rookies: Wilson, Pickens, Dotson, Mechie, Algier. So it's a good mixture, I think, of old and young, to where you can be competitive this year, and some of these older players might fall off a little bit, but if they're still pretty relevant, you could still be there. So other than the Pickens and Schultz, I really don't.
I don't like Henry over Jameson Williams. I mean,
oh yeah. Well, I did. I liked it.
Yeah, I mean, you liked it. Yeah, you went next. Yeah, I'm sure you had that. You're praying Javonte.
Oh, I took 3 seconds to make that pick. I'm not kidding you. Like, there's no timer. I took 3 seconds. Yeah. I watched. Yeah. I message him, hey, you're up. You're picking. Boom, boom. I was like, all right, sweet, cool. Because I don't know who I would have taken at that point.
But overall, I mean, it was an overall good pick. Yeah, we agree on the breaches. But yeah, I think he's all right.
Yeah, he's another. I think his team, Jay Frazier and Big Al, are probably my are teams I like outside of mine. I think so.
Yeah.
We'll skip me because we already went over it, and then we'll go to Castle. Let's see here. I don't like the Trey Lance pick. Outside of that, I really like all of his other selections. I'm looking the guys kind of before and after. I like him. Goddard might be a little too early. I mean, again, if I don't get like one of the top tier guys like Pitts, Andrews, Kelsey, Kittle, I'm like waiting all the way until like this Hunter Henry, Mike Gesicki stuff. Like Njoku fell. Like I'd feel just as fine putting in Njoku in my lineup every week. Like, because there's nobody else there now. So I probably would have kept passing on tight end, kept getting skill position play, like wide receiver, running back position players. But outside of that, again, I think all of his picks were pretty good, other than the Trey Lance pick. Personally, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think Lance was a little bit early too, but otherwise, I think it was an okay draft. I don't really have anything that bad to say about it.
Yeah. Let me scroll over a little bit so we can get a better view of John's team. All right, so John, you go ahead and you start off John's team. What do you like about it? What do you dislike?
Well, I like Harris and Kupp and Kelsey. Really strong start. Trevor Lawrence, I would have rather had Stafford. I don't know if you agree with that, but I would have rather had Stafford. I think Stafford's young enough where he's still going to.
Yeah, I drafted Stafford. I was going to take him over Lawrence.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, we agree.
Mm-hmm.
I've already talked about Elijah Mitchell. I don't love that pick. I would have rather had Jacobs, Etienne. But it wasn't like he reached incredibly bad form, so I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I really do like the wide receivers he followed up with, though, with McLaurin and Cooper and Bateman. I think that's really strong. So he really rounded out his team there. The problem with his team is, again, like we've talked about before, is the running back depth. it really kind of falls off a cliff. I mean, he has Harris and Elijah Mitchell, which is good, but then he doesn't really have anything after that.
Yeah.
He also invested a top, 11, 12 round pick in Sermon. I don't really think that that's too early to, gripe about, but I don't know. I don't think that his running back depth is great. He does have enough wide receiver ammunition to potentially trade and get a better running back, if he needs to.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. I don't understand the David Njoku pick. But it's okay. I mean, I guess he's hoping for some upside there. Overall, I think it's a good team. I just worry about the running back depth more than anything. And then also quarterback's a little shaky, but it's young and has some upside.
You don't like Njoku with now him kind of they kind of established that he's going to be the number one guy, it seems like, with letting Hooper walk. You don't think so?
We'll
I
see.
think Njoku.
I
think in his moments last year.
I like Harrison Bryant a lot. I think he's overlooked.
Mm-hmm.
And how many years have we heard, oh yeah, Njoku's going to be the guy, Njoku's going to be the guy, and he just always seems to fade. So
yeah, that's fair. I mean, we thought Austin Hooper. I mean, I guess not we, but I feel like people thought Austin Hooper would do well there, and just Baker. It doesn't seem like he can sustain really any skill position players to have much value, like when it comes to receiving.
Yeah, so I would have preferred Irv Smith.
Okay,
probably Higbee as well.
I kind of clump them in together with the people drafted like even before and after them, so the pick doesn't bother me, I guess.
Yeah.
My favorite pick really is his 12th round with Calvin Ridley. I think this is a team where like if he sees, okay, I'm not competing year one, my quarterbacks aren't really strong, they're still developing. My running backs will be fine next year. I got some wide receivers that are good next year. Like, let me trade, or maybe I want to, Elijah Mitchell's not panning out. Let me trade one of these McLaurin, Cooper, even Cup, really get a good young wide receiver to a contender who has running back depth or something like that. So I like this team for the future. I don't necessarily like it to compete this first year. It's kind of how I view this team personally.
Yeah.
And that's just because of the quarterback and running backs situation. So all right, we'll move on to Big Bad. Really, I probably think that the Ken Walker, he's got a lot of running back depth, which I think is great. Definitely the most depth of all of the teams here. Like, you've got two guys with Zeke and Jacobs that you're feeling comfortable plugging in your lineup every week with decent floors. They'll have their big games here and there. Kenneth Walker's a kind of a gamble. There's a lot of people that were drafted after him that I would have rather had.
Yeah.
But I don't hate this team. Got Matt Ryan at really good value in the 12th round.
Agreed.
Really like that pick. I like the Gronk pick. Hopefully, if he doesn't retire, of course. They already got Kittle. Seems like
I like the Hardman. Hardman's a good flyer at that.
Yeah,
that late.
Yeah, he's kind of going out and getting all the Kansas City wide receivers. He got Juju Smith and Hardman, right? So hopefully one of them pans out. I end up drafting Justin Ross, and I was telling him that he'll be the number one by the time the season starts. Just messing with it. It really wouldn't surprise me. I think Justin Ross is really talented, but got to stay healthy, and
of course
he's got a way harder path to get there. But yeah, I like this team. I like the running back depth is great. I guess the only thing that concerned me is wide receiver depth, because if Claypool, Juju, or Christian Watson don't pan out, you're pretty thin at wide receiver at that point. I feel like all those guys are a little bit riskier picks.
I agree, and it's not going to be easy to trade Gronk or McBride,
right?
So then you're left trading the only thing really good on your team, which is your running back depth, and then you'll have a running back depth hole. So it's a little bit of a disjointed team, although the Matt Ryan pick really does help save face.
Mm-hmm.
This team would look a lot worse without that Matt Ryan selection. I think if you sub out Matt Ryan for a lot of other guys on the board drafted in that area, I think we'd be looking at this team a lot differently. So that pick really did make a big difference.
Yeah. All right, go ahead and finish us off here on the WCWs.
WCW, all right, Lamb, Watson, Kamara, Hawkinson, Travis Etienne, Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore seems a little bit early.
I will say he regretted that pick.
Yeah, I mean, if Garrett Wilson wasn't drafted, then obviously Elijah Moore would look a lot better in that spot. Otherwise, I mean, he was drafted there, so I think we have to move him down substantially. The Tom Brady pick is way too early. This may be his last season, and I would never draft a player in the first 6-7 rounds of a draft knowing that. So just way too early on that pick.
Mm-hmm.
His backup quarterback is Drew Lock, which actually is a pretty good value given how late it was. So maybe that pans out. I don't hate that. Otherwise, the other picks, Robinson, Cordell Patterson. I mean, I don't a little bit too old for me. So the Elijah Moore and the Tom Brady picks, those two just kind of stand out as really unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad to see he acknowledges that it was a mistake. I mean, shoot, he could have had Terry McLaurin instead, right?
I think all the wide receivers drafted right after him in that same round. I would have
even in the next round.
Yeah,
almost not all of them, but
not all of them. But there's a lot. There's a decent amount after. I mean, Elijah Moore could still be really, really good, but they didn't draft Garrett Wilson that early, for him to probably step in and be the number one. So
I agree.
I'm not a big fan of the Travis Etienne pick. I know running backs were getting thin at that point, but I mean, I just don't know how I think he's just as good of a dart throw as Ken Walker, and I think I would have just rather had Kenneth Walker at that point because Urban Meyer drafted Travis Etienne. James Robinson is no slouch. He did get James Robinson later, which I thought was great value. Probably one of my favorite of his picks, other than Desean Watson, obviously.
I mean, look at it this way. Just from a rookie draft standpoint, if you have Elijah Moore and you want the 102 in a rookie draft, could you trade Elijah Moore for 102? I mean, no, because you could just draft Garrett Wilson.
Right.
So why would you take Elijah Moore before, I mean, really anyone in the first 5 picks of a rookie draft, you wouldn't. So why then would you draft Elijah Moore before Kenneth Walker, Jameson Williams, or any of these other guys? I mean, that's kind of that's the way I look at it. So that's a unfortunate pick. Hopefully, maybe it turns out. I mean, I have some Elijah Moore shares, and maybe Moore does a lot better than people expect, and that works out in his favor.
Yeah.
But I don't think it will, unfortunately, for WCW.
Yeah. I also like Adam Thielen in the 11th round. I know he's a little bit older, but there's not a ton of people that got drafted after him outside of like Calvin Ridley that I would have preferred. Probably David Bell too. I would have taken him, but I think it's good value if you're trying to compete this first year. I just don't think this team's going to. So, I mean, overall, I mean, nobody really did that horrible. There's always a bunch of, there's a couple of picks where people messed up and,
you did the best, Bryce.
Yeah. Well, I tried.
You did the best.
So,
you did the
best. We just, and we'll get to the chat here in a moment, but we'll go ahead and round out this part of it. So, everyone that listened, thank you so much. Please like, subscribe, join the Facebook page, Roto Heat, Dynasty Fantasy Football. There's tons of stuff on there. You ask questions. Everyone's really active. It's a great community. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next week.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. All right. So we'll get to some of the chat here. I think there weren't really many.
No questions.
Yeah. Yeah. Not a lot. Let's see here. Oh, one of the Facebook users saying, "Dang, you raked mine." Go see who the Facebook user was. That was
It was Alec Wilson. I think that was Big Al.
That's Big Al. Yeah. We liked
Yeah,
it.
so I told him in the chat, hey, this is saved. You can watch it later. And I think I gave him a good review. So
yeah, I mean, I told him to, and I'll say that he and John Zidane, Jay Frazier, those are guys that kind of like pay attention to the NFL as a whole rather than just kind of their favorite teams, more than the others. So, and I think their draft reflects that a lot of the time. So, I thought overall he did pretty good. He got, there might have been a couple of reaches, but they weren't egregious.
Off the Sneed agreed with me about Elijah Mitchell.
Yeah,
That's
I
cool.
see
Thank
that.
you,
I'm confused. I'm confused of this one. With how unhappy OBJ was in Cleveland, I'm very surprised if he heads to Green Bay. Why? If you're still watching.
With how unhappy
Cody
Odell was in Cleveland, I would be very surprised if he lands in Green Bay.
I don't understand. I don't understand the logic behind the statement, I guess.
I guess maybe the logic would be that Aaron Rodgers won't force feed him the ball.
But I think
Aaron Rodgers.
I think he would.
Aaron Rodgers would.
Aaron Rodgers would.
Yeah, I don't know.
Aaron Rodgers wouldn't miss him when he's wide open, right? I don't think OBJ was unhappy in Cleveland. I think he was just unhappy with
the situation.
With Baker missing him all the time.
Yeah,
I think he liked being on the team. I think he was a team player. I think he gets a bad rep for being a diva. But I think I think sometimes people confuse a lot of passion with being a diva. Like, I don't think you don't ever hear of teammates saying OBJ was trying to fight them or stuff like that. Like Terrell Owens was a diva, right? Like he and Donovan McNabb hated each other. He would get in fights with his quarterbacks on the sidelines, right? You're not really seeing that with OBJ. I think you're seeing more of passion. And when that happens, like, people automatically assume that they're the problem, right? So
yeah, I agree with you 100%.
I think that he'd be great in Green Bay. I think it'd be a perfect situation. I think that ideally somebody is stepping up and being at least decent to where he comes in and maybe not as immediately like we stop him, we win the game kind of situation, right? Aaron Rodgers is going to find a way to be competitive. So we'll see. But then again, like Tom Brady in his last years in New England, it was horrible because there was no one to throw the ball to. So it could be like that for Aaron Rodgers, but he'll throw it to the running back. I mean, Aaron Jones is probably a better receiver than New England had in Brady's last years. So, yeah.
Well, good draft. So what round are we in now in this draft you're in here?
Yeah, let's look.
I think there were some
Baker
picks.
Mayfield got taken.
Yeah,
Baker Mayfield got taken.
I heard the
Keyshawn Vaughn.
Yeah.
Will Fuller.
Oh, yeah. So all the guys we were talking
Will
about. Well, not Keyshawn Vaughn, but yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, Wade should have tried to get Kyle Trask, I think, the ACW, since he got Brady. I think Kyle Trask would have been a nice, okay, Brady retires. At least I have a shot of him being quarterback the following year.
And go down. Did the Gus Edwards pick come right when he oh, no. I'm thinking of Mike Davis. Is Mike Davis still available?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I think this is about the time Mike Davis will fall. This is about the round where when you see Keyshawn Vaughn go, this is like Mike Davis territory right here.
Yeah, it's getting a little.
It's getting a little.
I got Romeo Doubs. I didn't even see I got him till now.
Oh yeah.
I'm just taking. I'm taking taxi squad players at this point. I stopped. I didn't draft my first rookie till round 14, and it was that guy we talked about last week, which is Zamir White.
Yeah.
And then I took Thornton, and then Ross, and then Doubs. So.
Yeah, it's good. This is the time you want to just shoot for upside. I like it. Oh, we have a pick right now.
Greg Dulcich. Yep, Big Al's on.
There you go.
Alec is on.
Oh, Al's he's watching right now.
Is he still watching?
I think so. You gotta stop stop saying who you want to pick. He's gonna grab everyone.
Good. He took Hayden Hurst.
All right, cool.
I don't don't even know who I have in my queue. Oh, Kenny Bourne. Kendrick Bourne when he gets over here. You think this is an okay order? Like, would you put Cade Otton at the top?
No, I'd put Bourne at the top. No, I'm biased. I'm a Niner fan. He was on the Niners for a long time. He did a really good job. Very underrated player. I like Kendrick Bourne a lot. I think out of all the guys on your little queue list there, he's the guy I'd want more than anyone else.
All right.
I would even consider trading up because, I mean, looking at who's left in this draft, are you really – I mean, that's a thing I like to do at the end of these drafts is look, like, who do I really want on my team? And if there's really no one left, it's like, well, I'll just pay up for my guy.
Oh, wait. Hey, I'll just start setting players that aren't.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Is that Julio Jones still available?
Yeah.
That's a little surprising. I mean.
Yeah, let me add him to there. Hey, Jordan Love, too.
Could you imagine if Julio Jones went to Green Bay? Could you just imagine?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I could, too. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if Julio – I wouldn't surprise me if, like, one of either Julio, Jarvis, or OBJ, one of them went to Green Bay and one of them went to New England. I feel like those are two teams.
I mean, their value. I mean, where would Julio Jones go? Let's scroll up a little bit. Where would on the board, where would Julio Jones, if he was on Green Bay, I mean, you'd take him above Gage. I mean, I would take him above
I think
Gage.
he falls in the –
He'd fall like, what round? 11th round?
I think 11 through 12, yeah. 10,
he would fall like where 12. Lazard was, right? Yeah, he'd fall right there.
Yeah.
Crazy. I mean, that'd be – and that's very well within the realm of possibility. He signs in a really favorable situation like that. So,
yeah.
I think maybe that's someone you should keep an eye on as well.
Let me move him up. Come on, Julio.
There you go.
You're way up to number 2.
Get that upside.
Oh shit! It highlighted. There we go. I'm just gonna do it this way.
Yeah.
Moving above AB. I don't know if AB ever plays again. I hope not.
I don't know either. That's another one that's really risky.
I hope not. I
don't know.
Alec just texted me and said I did not mean to draft 2 tight ends. Well, it's not gonna hurt anything. I mean, it's not bad. I don't mind either of these guys. I mean, I don't really like Greg Dulcich. He doesn't really have the tools to be seems like he's gonna be more of a blocking tight end. But I think Hayden Hurst in the 21st round is a steal.
Killer.
Really?
Yeah. And Dulcich could work out too.
He could. I think Alberto, like, it's one of my favorite picks. Like, I think he just has the tools to be like he was eaten into Noah Fant's production. So
right.
I hated it because I own Noah Fant in a lot of Dynasty. Yeah. And Alberto was just a guy I just hated.
Now that's your only tight end, right? Alberto?
No. I got Kyle Pitts.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're good.
Kyle Pitts. Yep.
Yeah, that's a good combo. I like that.
Yeah. So, alrighty. Well, I think that's it. I mean, there are people still picking, but I think that'll be good for tonight. We're over our time anyway. We're on pretty good time. Usually we're an hour and a half. It's an hour and 15.
Right.
So let's see. Make sure nobody else said anything. Nope.
All right, good. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thanks for everyone that watched. We only have one viewer now, so
thank you, Bryce.
Thank you, singular
and
viewer.
Thank you, single viewer.
It's probably you. Are you on Facebook?
I'm not. No,
I'm
off.
Okay, so someone's watching.
It's someone.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, we will. We'll see you. We'll see you next week. Same time. I can't promise Leone will be there. He might be moving to a Wednesday night Dynasty a best ball format, talking about that with Rick and maybe somebody else. So you'll definitely see me, potentially still Leone, maybe somebody else. So
we'll see.
We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in.
Good night.
Yeah.